Welcome back to TenTenths Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Breout, and I'm sitting in the Kangan Motorsports studio, and I have Adam Nielsen on Zoom, but we also have Andrew Rains on Zoom, coming all the way
live from NCM, apparently.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
I was really I was confused when you first popped up before we started recording, because you had like a bunch of Porsches in your background. I'm like, where the hell is he?
That's probably Barber.
That was a barber. I'm trying to be conspicuous with my virtual background because I'm actually sitting on my bed in my bedroom, and it just wouldn't. The background wouldn't work. So, yeah, that's NCM in the background right there.
Nice. Well, we were probably a little more subtle than the I think it was a senator or something. He was doing a Zoom call while he was driving, so you could see the seatbelt.
Seatbelt.
Yeah, I think he got in trouble for that.
Yeah,
as he should.
Yeah, definitely.
Jesus. So,
man, well, thanks for having me, guys. Pumped to be here.
Yeah,
no problem.
We mean to have you on for a long time, and we
I have like all these ideas in my head, like, oh, we should have Andrew come on and talk to us about this. We should have him come on and talk about, and I never have time to put, like, I have this idea where I want to find some different like track maps that have corners that are like, I'm not exactly sure like how to decide what the line is through the optimal line through these corners are, and like have you talk to us, like talk your way through what you think would be the best way to do these, or like how to figure out, or even like look at my data and determine whether or not that was the right way to do it or not, and stuff like that. And I just never have the time to put it together.
Yeah, the time is the resource that we're all lacking, isn't it? It's like I do the same thing, but that sounds like fun. That's what I spend a lot of time doing, that kind of thing. So
yeah,
I'm always in.
Yeah, someday I'll quit my job or something, and then I'll have more free time. So
just do race cars.
Be like, I'm done with you guys and leave. But it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. I got family, so
yeah, bills and whatnot.
Adult shit.
Adulting sucks.
It's the worst. Oh man.
So, Robbie, why don't you open this up?
Sure. As always, our opener is presented by Fact Fabrication, factfabrication.com, for anything that you need for custom furniture, or if you want to get railed or caged. I got a cage in my Z, and it is wonderful. It is the best cage. I don't have a rail from Factory Fab at my house, though, but he has offered because...
Yet. You need one, Robbie.
Where my deck goes down to like a platform that goes to my yard, that was the only safety inspection that I got a violation for when I got my house inspected. Like, you should really have a rail here. And I made a comment to Booney one time. He's like, I can make you that rail. Like, it's fine. I don't need a rail there. And he's like, no,
it's downright dangerous.
I can count the number of people that have fallen off there on one hand, but it's also the same amount of people that show up here. So, when you don't have people over,
not that bad.
Yeah. I mean,
I helped more than one elderly grandparent of either you or your wife down that set of stairs on your wedding day, Robbie.
That's because it was pouring rain.
Yeah, but it was still an unnecessarily dangerous situation that you could easily take care of with a phone call.
Yeah, I could.
Good.
Dang it!
To the show's sponsor.
Yeah, now I have to. Now I can't be like, I can't afford it. I was like, well, I got the friend connection, so I have to.
If you can afford a cage, you can afford a railing.
Yeah, but
that's probably true.
The cage
What's your priorities here, Robbie?
The cage, always the cage.
I like that.
That's fair.
The cage is always the priority.
The proper order. Yeah.
Robbie apparently is safety third when it comes to his house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm less
safety first in his race car, safety third at home.
Have y'all ever figured out if safety's third, what is first and second? I've always pondered that question.
Horsepower and I don't know, tires.
In college, I always thought. Go ahead.
At work, it's probably productivity and profitability. So,
yeah,
that makes sense.
Absolutely.
In college, we decided it was always have a dirt bike, something about women, and then safety. But we never figured out what it was about women. It was just the second one probably has to do with women. But I don't know how that came up.
And it definitely should be farther down the list, but it's not.
No, it's always at the top of the list.
Women should be farther down that list for sure, because they're nothing but trouble.
20-year-old me had no idea.
It happens, man.
You're telling me.
It happens. But I can get this open. Basically, we could just kind of talk about my weekend. So I got the Z basically ready to go. I've been spending all winter getting it ready for my first GLTC race. And last weekend we had a TT at Topeka. And I brought it down there. Actually, before I even brought it down there, I talked to Justin at Offline Performance and was like, hey, what are the chances you guys could tune this? I realistically probably need to pull a little horsepower out of it because I had a mail-in tune. I had no idea what my horsepower was or how optimized it was, anything like that. So he's like, yeah, bring it by before you swing down to Topeka. We'll hook the computer up, see if we can tweak it at all or if we need to get the uprev licensing or have JB come in and do it. And have me on the list for their JB Tune days or whatever. So I brought it in and they took one look and I was like, yeah, there ain't no way. Not with what we got. You're going to have to come back in mid-June when JB's here. And I'm like, well, shit. Okay. And they're like, well, but if you want to know what numbers you have, we can throw you on right now. I was like, okay. So of course it's like 11:30 and they all go to lunch at noon. So I get the car unloaded. We get it on the dyno and they're like, well, all right, we're going to lunch. See you later.
Like, bunch of part-timers, man.
And I was like, well, it's Friday afternoon and I already got the half the day off because I'm supposed to be driving to Topeka. I'm like, well, that's fine. I'll hang out. I don't care. So they went to lunch. I just hung out and they came back and we did my dyno runs and actually was right where I thought I would be. I mean, it's stock horsepower. It's nothing to shake a stick at, but
he won't share it. For some reason, he's being coy.
I was gonna say, what is that, like 240?
He won't tell anybody.
The best part is, it's not a big deal. Like, it doesn't matter at all. But if I don't tell people, it bothers them.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's true.
It does, Robbie.
Adam Jabay knows I sent him my entire GLTC thing and had him review
Adam
it.
Jabay knows everything. That's not what I'm worried about.
He is omniscient.
Out of him.
Yeah, so
I bet I could drag it out of him.
Yeah, probably. It's not a big deal. But so they just threw me on the dyno real quick, got my numbers, and sent me on my merry way, which I really do appreciate because I wasn't scheduled to be on the dyno. I was just there to pull the car into the parking lot, have them take one look at it, hook the computer up to it maybe, and say yes or no, and then schedule a dyno tune later. No, they're like, yeah, just throw it on. We'll be good. And luckily the numbers are low enough that I could add a little ballast and still stay within GLTC rules, so that was good. And luckily I already had the ballast, so I got that going and swung on down to Topeka, and of course it looks like rain the entire time. And Saturday morning we woke up, or I guess Friday night it rained all night, a little drizzle in the morning. I had a wet session, and of course all of my new tires are here but not mounted. So like my ones I'm going to use for rain tires, they showed up today. My Toyo RRs showed up a few weeks ago, but I wasn't going to run them at TT, so like they're on the Koenigs and they're sitting in the shop. So I have the rears are Federal 595 RRs or whatever, and then the fronts are not the 10-year-old RS3s, but like literally the last RS3s off the shelf that I got from Bill. Actually Michael got from Bill and I got from Michael.
Your mixed matched front to rear.
Yeah. No, side to side. No.
Every corner.
Yeah, I'm really great.
He has enough sets that he could have one different brand tire at each corner.
That's not true. That's not true. I completely emptied the shop. All I have are.
Oh, did you? I'm so proud of you.
I've emptied the shop.
Proud.
But this event was the absolute last event that I was running anything that wasn't a decently recently made tire.
I need to clip that because I'm gonna bet that's not true.
But
anyone taking bets on that? I am open to keep track of it. Guaranteed it's not true.
I mean, if someone gives me free tires, I'll use them. But so I'm running Federals in the rear, RS3s in the front. These actually have a date code on them. I think these are literally only 5 years old. Not to say that they're good, because they're not. They're junk. But it's just for one weekend, and then the Toyos and what am I running? Acceleras are going on the for wets.
What could go wrong?
Exactly.
5 years old. It's fine.
It's fine. They're just 5 years newer than what we're on it.
It's like rubber hardens over time.
They really, especially when it's had 5 years of freeze cycles. So went out Saturday morning to a wet track. Obviously, these tires are not great for that, so I went very slowly. Stayed well within my means. I didn't do anything sketchy. Like, I didn't try to push it, didn't try to go fast. Just tried to shake the car out because I knew I had some air in the coolant system still. I wanted to make sure it was burped and that it actually bled itself because I added that swirl pot system that's in theory constantly bleeding itself. So I messed with that all week and actually realized after the fact that by messing with it when I did, I kept adding air to the system and screwing it up. So that was annoying.
Classic.
Bleeding coolant system sucks. I hate bleeding air out of a coolant system.
Especially the VQs. They're notorious for catching air and keeping it hidden.
Apparently Nissan needs to work on their bleeding processes across the board.
Yep. I think I got it figured out, though. I mean, it ran great, but it was really weird because I would go the full session. I mean, and it was running kind of hot, which I got now an oil cooler on it now after the fact, but it was getting kind of warm. And then I'd come in and all of a sudden I'd see the coolant spike and then drop back down. I was like, what? Well, I assume there's something going on here, but not overheating, but we definitely see a spike as soon as I pulled off track. So I've been chasing that this week after. The dried out throughout the day though. We actually had a really nice day Saturday. So it didn't rain all day. So by my second session, I was actually able to start driving pretty well and actually getting the tires warm. And then on the last session, I actually did a 153.4, which I was really happy with given that the tires that were on it and the fact that I have not as much horsepower as the other people that were running near that. It's like Matt did FTD with his supercharged Mustang with a 147.8, and I did a 153.4 with mine. I was really happy with that. So,
just pull up my ApexPro app here. Let me see where I was at.
I think you were at. So if you were in the neon, that would have been what, 2 minutes?
Yeah, I feel like I was I think I was shooting for sub 210s. I think that was my goal for the weekend.
Okay.
Neon.
It was great. Okay.
I bet it was awesome.
Yeah.
It puts the reliability of your BMW to shame.
Probably does.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. So many people just beat the crap out of that car, and it never really cared. So, gosh dang it, I haven't logged into this since you updated it, and I don't.
Oh yeah,
dealing with this right now.
Yeah, you got to create a new username as of 2 days ago.
Yeah, I'm not doing that right now. It's not worth the joke.
Okay.
Sorry, that's my fault.
I feel like sub 210 was my goal, and I think I made a 209.
Nice.
Or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I was really happy given the circumstances of the fact that this is the first time I was really pushing it, so I'm adjusting brake bias and just kind of getting a good feel for the car. And then I realized after the fact that I didn't change my suspension settings back to being stiff. I had it on full soft for when it was wet. I didn't stiffen it back up for when it was dry, and just chasing other goofy things, just making sure everything was running right. But real happy with how it drove and how it felt. Sunday it was torrential downpours all night Saturday night. We were on a 2.5 hour rain delay, lightning delay. So we didn't get on track till we were supposed to be first. And they combined all the time trials guys and they put us in the session at I think we made it on track at 11. So yeah, we just sat around watching the rain pour. And we went out there and I knew I was going to put a 2.5, 2:45 minute lap in. I just wanted to practice finding, the limit of the tire grip, which, there's none with mine. So I'm just kind of just putzing around, and we went out there and we did it's pouring. So we did a white flag lap, and I was the fourth car in line, and we made it all the way around. And at white flag speeds, we're still hydroplaning like crazy. So then we're getting down the front straight, and there's standing water. There's a river going across turn 14, and there's standing water all the way up the front. And I'm coming around the turn 14 to go to the front straight, and I'm ready to point basically everyone behind me by. I'm just you're all got better tires than me, just go. And as I'm about to do this, I watch Luke in his C7 Corvette, and we're talking 60 miles an hour down the front straight, half of what he should be doing on a normal day, just completely lose control and write his car off. Just gone.
Whoa.
Yep. And like they hadn't even give us.
I saw some pictures. It was not good.
No, and I'm not going to post them.
Cars. No, absolutely not.
Because
so scary.
Yep. So yeah, we hadn't even gone green yet. Like we're about to go green, but you're going down the front straight, and he was the first one in line because I mean he's on a C7 Corvette, basically brand new Michelin Pilot Sports. He's got traction control. He's got wet, the wet setting, and he didn't even put the foot to the throttle. Like it was just coasting through a puddle, and it was just gone. So we watched that happen. We drove up, and I mean the car's done. It's completely written off. We did,
Pilot Sport Cup 2s, like the
I think
220 treadwear.
No, I think there were the 300 treadwear, the 4S.
PS4.
Yeah, I think that's what he had. So I mean, that's
a good rain tire.
That's what I thought. Way better than my Federals.
yeah,
that are basically on wear bars. So like
what'd you say you ran?
Me
time wise?
Minute 53.
Damn, son, you ran a 53.5 with your 240 there 2 years ago.
I did a 148 last year in it.
Damn. So it's not that far off a pace, really.
No, it's really not. Especially
that's crazy.
Yeah, all things considered. Oh, the new Willwood brakes are awesome. I'm really, really happy. Like I was backtracking. So I was braking way later than I was expecting to, which is awesome. And then I had my foot in it over alpha all the way to the braking zone. I was so proud of myself. So proud.
I'm proud of you too.
I was so proud.
Have you ever raced there, Andrew?
I'm not familiar with Heartland Park,
Park
other than videos. It looks like an awesome track, though. Really,
it's really nice. It's
what
a great
they call
track.
alpha, which is kind of a corner, but not a corner. That's on the top of the front straight. It's completely blind into turn one, and it's like you got to nut up, right? You got to it's a man's deal, right? And it's because it's completely blind. You can't see the braking zone or anything for going into turn one. It's
You just got to trust that the track will be there.
Yeah. You aim the front of the car at the power line pole that's way out in the distance, and you just keep your foot in it.
Yeah,
It's not that big a deal in a 1996 Plymouth Neon, but it's a little
it's the
scarier.
Plymouth variant.
Well, it was a neon cup car. What do you want from me?
Yeah. They have a Chrysler one too, and the Dodge one.
I ran a 210-3, by the way.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, I'm not saying I was like flat to the floor all the way through it, but I kept my foot on the throttle. I was so proud of myself.
You should be. That's
so.
Oof.
But yeah, so I'm out there fighting. Like my windows are fogging up. My wipers have been giving me issues all day. Like they're either all the way on or all the way off. The switch isn't working. So at this point they're not working at all. So I'm relying on Rain X. I'm not going fast enough for the Rain X to work. Here's all my excuses. But anyway, so. Yeah, watch Luke write his car off, and we're doing. We get black flagged, obviously, because it's going to take a while to clean that up. And we come into pits, and by the time we come in, I'm completely fogged over. I'm like, this is fucking stupid. This is stupid. I'm not driving in this again. I won't do it. So like everyone else is waiting to go back out. I'm like, I'm done. I'm going to I'm going to go home, put my tail between my legs. I'm done. I'm going to load up. You guys can drive all you want. I'm out. And I did. I packed up the car and waited for everybody else to finish, and I helped Luke with his car and talk to him and made sure he was okay. Airbags go off, so you have to go away in the ambulance, which is like really nerve-wracking watching your friend leave. It rattled me a little bit, and I felt that it was too dangerous, so I called it. So yeah, I did not race at all on Sunday.
I think that's smart with your tire option. I mean, yeah, that's one of the most freeing things. Like I've coached drivers before and like reminding them like it's up to you whether you actually go out or not. Like sometimes it's just nice to remember like, hey, I'm here for fun. I don't have to do this if I don't want to. Yeah. I'm not motivated to do it. I'm not going. So that's cool that you made that decision.
I mean, yeah, that's where I was with it. I was like, there's literally nothing to gain and everything to lose. Like I want to do Gingerman with this car and at that point I'll have really good dry tire. Well, I mean, not really good, but like they'll be, they're Toyota R, so they're better. Yeah. And then I also have tires with full tread that I can use for wet tires. Like I'm set up for that. And like I've been working.
Need those because it's a grid life event.
It's going to rain. So like I've been working all towards that event. I was like, if anything happens here, like going off track or hitting the wall, I was like, kind of ruins the whole goal here. I was like, no, it's not. As much as I want to get better at driving in the rain, That was not the day.
Yeah,
It was
not the
too
right
much.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes that's hard to decide, hard to make a decision because you don't want to miss out on a good, like a proper range session. But that's taking into account the risk element, and it sounds like in your situation, the risk level was just like unacceptably high because I'm on old tires, watch my buddy ride off his car in a straight line, essentially.
Yep.
The windshield's fogging up and I can't fix it. If you could eliminate a couple of those things, then maybe the decision making would be different. But
yeah,
sounds like that's the right call.
Yeah, and I pulled in and I'm kind of shook up a little bit and like I'm kind of beating myself up too. I was like, "Nah, you pussy! Like you could have done it." Like, but of course that's my ego just telling me I could have, and I know I made the right choice for me at the time. And then Patrick, who's one of the corner workers, who's done corner working across the country. He's cornered for IMSA. I think he did the 24 Hours of Daytona. If it wasn't it wasn't this year, it was last year. So I mean, he's done big events, and he's texting me going, "Hey, what happened?" And I'm telling him, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not going back out." He goes, "Yeah, I don't blame you. We should have canceled." And so, like, when he's telling me like we should have canceled, I'm like, "Okay, yeah. I feel a little better about it."
Well, that track has the problem of, I mean, it uses the drag strip as the front straight.
No, it doesn't.
VHT, it doesn't.
No. We're next to it. It's two separate. There's no VHT.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, I could have swore that you used the front straight.
It might have in the past, but it doesn't. It not since I've ever gone there. It's totally separate.
Okay, well,
yeah, there's no way.
I know they can't run them. They can't run them simultaneously.
Yeah,
because the space between turn 1 and turn 2 cuts across the slowdown section for the drag strip. So, but yeah.
So that was. But yeah, the car feels good. I've got redid all the wiring, so I completely eliminated everything, so it's all on switches now. So like the stocks are completely removed. I think that was the issue. It's like either something I screwed up with the wiring or the way it communicated. Because like of course it goes from the wiper switch or in the headlight switch through the BCM to the IPDM, which was all the relays and stuff. So I just kind of bypassed the stuff that I thought was failing, and now everything's on switches. And then I also have an oil cooler that's installed, and I also race flux everything, so I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Nice. And you're taking that to spring kickoff?
Yep.
Gingerman?
Yep, that's my first GLTC race, so I got...
Cool.
I'll have the what's it called? The rookie competition school thing that they do. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Cool. That'll be a great group for you to like get your feet wet with on wheel-to-wheel stuff, because the amount of respect, particularly at Gingerman, NCM was a little different animal as far as like contact and aggressive driving, but I think it's definitely more the nature of the track. It's super hard to pass. Yeah, and it's Gingerman's different.
And I think that some of the people that were at NCM aren't maybe not your regulars, but like the typical people. Because like I'm pretty good now. Like I'm decent friends with Scott Robertson, so like we text regularly, and I'm in like this group chat that I've been in for like a couple months now since I signed up. That's just the GLTC drivers. So I'm starting to get familiar with a lot of people. So and I think a decent number of them know me through the show too. So it's kind of like people know me, and I'm not trying to show up and win on the first event. I literally just want to start getting experience and be better. So I think that the mentality is going to be really good at Gingerman, where it's just like the guys that I know will be there will be the ones that are like, let me help you.
Yeah. It's honestly, the GLTC group is probably the most like communication I've ever had between competitors in a paddock. Like, particularly, I've gotten to be friends with a bunch of the guys, but like Luke at NOLA, but also at NCM, like after every session, like Luke McGrew and I were like going up to each other, like, dude, guess what I learned? And just talking about like, because we had both never been to NOLA before. And so like, we were literally just telling each other, like, this is what I learned in this corner, and this is what, exchanging information. And one of the guys I was racing at NCM, John Allen, he brought over his video, and we started going through it. He had a ton of experience. He's the Spec Miata track record holder at NCM. And so I went up to him and was like, tell me what I'm doing wrong, man. You were behind me for like 5 laps, let's look at video or whatever. And he like walked me through everything. It's like, you could be a little further left here. I liked your entry here, all this stuff. All these little coaching tips. I've never experienced that in a paddock before. Thought that was crazy. It's really cool.
Yeah, Scott did that with me at Atlanta Motorsports Park at one lap too. We were like, comparing Apex data, and I know that's what's going to be like at Gingerman too. Is like if something's not right, or something is screwed up with me, I could be like, hey, what am I doing, or like what should I be doing, and I don't have to worry about everyone just be like, oh, he's a new guy, I hate that guy. No, it's come race with us.
Yeah, they want you to be there.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
I'm really, really excited about it.
Yeah, you'll have a lot of fun. It's especially coming from the time attack world. You'll be prepared for the qualifying and like the go nature, but you definitely have to temper it with like the mutual respect of like, putting the car wheel to wheel with people and knowing when to back out of a move, knowing when to commit to it. That takes some time.
Yep.
It takes time to like. At first, you start out with like you're leaving more gaps in between cars. You're making more obvious moves, and everything kind of happens. It's a little clunky for a little while until your racecraft starts to your spatial awareness and like your vision starts to open just from doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you narrow that margin down, and now you're like door to door. You're looking through cars' windows in front of you, and you're kind of getting that whole racecraft awareness. It's a whole new, element to driving that's like, it's almost like it's totally different, but it's not. It's weird.
Yep. No, I remember when you were on before, you were talking about coaching somebody and you were telling them that you wanted them to basically have their mirrors touching the other mirror of the guy who was passing. You're like, just touch his mirror. And like, in time attack, you're like, don't get anywhere near his mirror. So it's just like, bringing it into like being close to each other and like that comfortability of the wheel to wheel stuff. I'm looking forward to building that. But yeah, definitely walking into it with I don't want to fuck this up for anybody, including myself. I just want to have a clean weekend. I want to get better, but I don't want to do anything dumb.
Oh man, I'm excited to hear from you afterwards, because it's like, I'm sure you already like kind of expect this, but once you do it the adrenaline rush and like the way that like your body reacts to a race start and the way you feel afterwards is like, it is a high that is so high. Like you'll come down after the race and you're like, oh my God, that was nuts. Did we really just do that? Like, what were we doing? That was crazy. And it's like this crazy good feeling. It's super addictive.
Yeah. So I'll tell my wife that we can just forget about retirement because the money's gone. It's already been spoken for.
Retirement's overrated.
Yeah. Who wants to live that long anyways?
That's right.
But that was my weekend, and it's just been a bunch of wrenching ever since, trying to make sure everything's ready. Luckily, because we got furloughed over Memorial Day, I got 5 days over Memorial Day weekend to wrap up everything before the event. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be good.
Well, I'm glad that the car is working out for you. That that it's confidence inspiring and clearly, and that you're comfortable with it, because like that's a lot of the battle, I think, for anybody, is feeling comfortable in a car and knowing that it works.
Yeah, I've said it before that the Z on track is a way better car than the 240 is. I like the 240 a lot. Like I'm really happy with what I built with it, but
right,
the Z right away is leaps and bounds better on track. I'm very, very, very happy.
It's interesting.
With that
I'd love to know, like, I mean, I don't think you can even quantify this, but like, what is it? Why is it so much better? Why is it so much different in a good way?
I don't know if it's like a combination of like the wheelbase or like, 'cause I mean, it's a heavier car. It's heavier than the 240.
I think they have a better suspension geometry, like from the get go.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, it's weird too, because like I don't have camber adjustment in the front. I'm just at like -1 and 1.4, and that's like the best I can do right now. So it's just like a neutral setup. It's really nothing dramatic. But even that like feels better than the 240 did with like more of an aggressive setup.
Sounds like the 240 was probably like a lot of the like modified swapped cars that I've driven. You really have to like grab them by the scruff of the neck, kind of driving style, and they can be kind of like they can bite you kind of easily. Like some LS 944s I've driven have been like that. Like you really just got to like ride the thing like it's a bull.
Yeah, I can see that.
And there's more of that like element of like taming the beast. And I know your car wasn't like 500 horsepower or anything crazy, but it was putting out enough power that, there's probably just an element of like, this car's probably more approachable, probably have similar contact patch, not quite as much power, and it's probably easier to control.
Yeah, I think that's, I don't know. I think that's absolutely right. Cause like the 240 was on 275 17s and like 315 wheel horsepower, and then jump into this, it's like I'll be on 295s with the Toyota. Oh, yeah. So I mean it's quite a bit bigger contact patch. Wow. And it's not, so it's not near as much horsepower at them.
Yeah, but it's probably just more approachable. Yeah,
yeah, because like there's no way I would have been foot on the throttle over Alpha with the 240. Maybe this year I might have been able to do a little bit, but I don't know. Just being comfortable in this car came really fast. Like I just get it. Like once it got running last year, and I did a couple events on it. Once it was running well, it didn't take long for me to feel really confident in it.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
I'm glad that it works so well. I'm excited to. GLTC isn't my love, but I am excited to see how it goes for you. So,
yep.
So, what motivated you to go do wheel to wheel stuff? Like get into GLTC? Was it just the community's so awesome, and it's just such a open formula, and you can kind of do whatever? Or did you want to go wheel to wheel racing? Or
wheel to wheel was always kind of the goal. Like the obtainable goal was that I wanted to always get into that one way or another, whether it was like endurance has always kind of seemed where I was going to kind of gravitate towards realistically. Then GLTC kind of came up, and it kind of fell in line with like all the stuff I really loved about grid life. So, you get to build a fun car, it's you can do kind of what you want to do. Cause like it's kind of that same mentality that we have at Mid-Div TT, where it's like, it's power to weight, and you can basically choose your own adventure and build the car exactly as you want and still be competitive in your class. So once I came along with this car, I originally thought it was going to be a drift car, the Z, and then totally lost interest in drift without really doing anything with this car. And then about that time, GLTC was ramping up, and I knew that if I wanted to go club racing, it wasn't really in the cards for me, because up until recently, SCCA it's been super challenging to kind of make that jump to club racing, because you have to build a car to an SCCA class, and then you can't just like show up on a weekend and be like, hey, I'm here to club race. You got to go to comp school, and like, it's like you got to spend a lot of money to decide whether or not you're even interested. And then the way Grid Life's kind of making it so like, all right, you can do our comp school and be on like our probation and kind of get taught how to do it, and then the barrier to entry is way easier to kind of stomach.
That makes total sense. That's not something I've really thought about a lot. Honestly, it's been a very long time since I went through that process, but like the investment required just to go through comp school for some of the other organizations, it's kind of antiquated, honestly, and I have nothing bad to say about any of those organizations.
No,
but
not
a
at
lot
all.
of those comp school programs don't actually really prepare you for what you're going to do. It's kind of more of a, we got to tick these boxes. There's a couple of organizations around the country that do it extremely well, and then most of them kind of just, tick the boxes. And I think that's the right approach, because if you build a reputation for yourself with Grid Life, and you're going to be with some of the best wheel-to-wheel racers and, grassroots racers in the country doing GLTC.
Yeah. No, when Adam was or Jabe was kind of talking about like how they're going to make their competition license like a legitimate comp license. I was like, well, this is the perfect way to go that path, and then also get to do what I want to do with the car. So it's honestly the best of all worlds, in my opinion, for making that jump to wheel, because otherwise it was going to be probably WRL or Lemons or Champ Car or something like that, which would be, again, like, it just seems like SCCA and NASA make it a little bit too difficult to kind of get to your first race.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's a reason everybody gravitates towards the endurance series, and it's because of that barrier to entry. It's like, no, come on out and race. And they do, WRL particularly, it does vet people, but
yeah,
there's less of and it's not that it's not safe. It's just it's a different mindset and approach that's new, not traditional. It's really what it is.
Yeah, no, because like I've gone through the evaluation for WRL because we were supposed to be at a race like in 3 weeks, and because they kind of had me go through and talk about all the experience I've had, and like I kind of like, well, and I kind of listed off. I was like, I did these years worth of time trials, and I did grid life, and then I was like, it's not the same, but I've got a level B, road racing, iRacing license. So I was like, I understand it's not the same, but I've done hundreds of hours of iRacing. It's like, oh, well then you're on probation or whatever, and you can do your first event. I was like, great.
Yeah.
It's cool that they accept like iRacing as some level of experience.
I don't.
Like, yeah, okay, it's not exactly the same. But
I kind of I had it like I wrote down all of my on track real life experience, and then cause at that time I was doing a lot of iRacing, and I put it on there. I was like semi related ish ? And then I just wrote down like what my licensing was for iRacing and my safety rating. I was like, maybe they'll laugh at it, maybe they'll look at it and like, well, clearly he's spent a lot of time in the sim.
I mean, racecraft is racecraft.
I mean, it's obviously not. It's not apples to apples, but I would like to think
but it's still experience.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean,
clearly sim racing can produce fast drivers because there's, even in the GLTC field, there's a whole bunch of guys that are very fast in real life that spend a lot of time behind a computer screen.
Yeah. So. Or you're like, Brian Highcotter. He was like, what?
GT Academy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was racing GT cars in World Challenge when I was running my Accord. He was running a GTR GT3 car.
Wow.
That was this last time I saw him in the paddock, and I saw he was in GLTC. I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. Yeah. But I agree with the sims. I mean, like you can't quite get your pilot's license just on a sim these days, but you almost can.
Right.
There's like programs where they actually design a curriculum for you on the simulator, and like Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 is like, it's 70 or 80% of it. All right, obviously you're never going to replicate all the different things that can happen in the real world, but as far as like the situational awareness that they're looking for on the racetrack, you can get like you can flex that muscle in iRacing to the point where you get on the track and now you're doing a correlation test. Now you're going, oh, this is the same, this is different.
Yep. Like
now I turn my head instead of, press the screen button. Right.
Yeah. Well, like
that kind of stuff.
One thing I noticed, like, in time trials, I never really got comfortable with a car in my mirror. I was just like, if the car's in my mirror, that means they need to be pointed by. And then in like iRacing, you kind of can shift that mentality. It's like, well, if that car's in the mirror, you're supposed to be in front of him. No, and then you just kind of, now you're aware that he's there, but you're not actively trying to point him by. And you just again, that situational awareness of they're behind you, but you follow your line, try to get them further behind you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that WRL would look at those types of credentials, but I would like.
I don't know.
I've been a big proponent of that.
They didn't ask for it. I just put it on my resume, so they might have just laughed at it and said, "Well, everything else is good enough." But yeah. I included it, and they didn't say anything negative, I guess.
I mean, honestly, man, like I don't see why we don't get our driver's license. Like I don't see why you don't have to go in and sit at instead of the government making you take a
written test,
like a license renewal test. We all know that we actually should be trained how to drive like every 5 or 10 years. The fact you get your license when you're 16 and then you're good forever is kind of silly.
It's insane.
To reduce costs,
couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree more.
Half the people on the road have no idea. They've never hit a wall on the track. They don't know what it feels like to crash a 3,000-pound vehicle. Like they just, it's like there's no consequences in most people's mind. But if you at least got them on a sim and train, like flex that muscle every 5 years or whatever, I bet it would increase safety like crazy. And I bet you could do it in racing too. Like I bet if everybody in WRL had to do a certain amount of sim work, that it would improve the driving standards.
Yeah, no, I always kind of took it as when I first got into it, I was like, oh, this will give me a chance to learn the, turn by turns of tracks and kind of familiarize myself. And then as I kind of really dove into iRacing this last winter, I was like, okay, a lot of this is more relatable than I ever gave it credit for. Again, not saying they're the same, but there's a lot that you can really pull from there.
Do you know like when you're about to start a race in iRacing and you're sitting there on the grid and you're like, lights go, the lights come on and you go clutch in, foot to the floor, you're about to launch on like the MX-5 or whatever. That feeling that you get like in your stomach.
Yep, that's real. Like that, I have that real butterfly moment. I was like, all right, this is it. We're going.
Yeah. And the fact that you've like, that's a big part of the real thing is controlling your emotions. Like a really, really big part of it. Particularly when you have somebody, right on your ass and you're trying to defend them, or when you're trying to have a mentality to go get a pass, you're trying to be in the right state of mind. It's really easy to get distracted mentally on the track. And if you've got that sim experience and your body's already somewhat used to managing those emotions, you can't expect yourself to just like go out in your first race and deal with this emotional state you've never experienced before, but you have, because you've done it in the sim. It's not like it's like weed versus cocaine or something. Like it's turning it up a little bit.
Right.
But it's the same kind of, it'll be familiar, which will make it a little easier.
Yeah. And I've always gone into it with that mentality of like, I'm going to treat this like it's a real race. I'm going to treat this like there's consequences for crashing this car. I'm going to, I don't want to like, if I make a mistake, I need to treat it as if I'm actually making a real mistake with a car. And so I do get upset. Like if I get crashed out of a race, I'm like, oh, that was my car. It's junk now, but like, I don't want to have that clip where it's like someone slams me into the wall. Like I always want to have a clean race. Like I want to have a good safety rating.
Yeah, that's cool.
Anyways,
you'll do well. And it's not, it's nothing crazy. It's just know where the other cars are and start getting some reps.
Yep. No, I actually, it's one of those things. Like I get more anxiety if I think about it away from the track than I do at the track or on the track. Like in the moment, I don't have that like second guessing myself, worrying about worst case scenario. I'm just reacting and doing what feels, right. But like if I'm sitting, let's say at work and I'm thinking about the upcoming weekend, it's like, okay, what if this happens? What if I do this? Oh, what if that breaks? Like just the anxiety 2 weeks before a race is way worse than anything that I experience actually. Like it's time trials, of course, but like anything that I actually experience on track.
Yeah. I'm probably the same. I think that's it's like the anticipation of the event, and it's really hard to be mentally disciplined to not to avoid the bad thoughts. You have to like almost train yourself to have a positive, because you can't think about the negative outcomes constantly. No, even though your brain wants you to, you have to avoid that, even though it's possible, because that you think you do what you think. You have to set your mind to the outcome you want to achieve, and then let your brain determine what the process is to achieve that outcome, and then kind of follow that path. So that is hard. Like, I had a story that I was thinking about. I guess it was before Grid Life, 2 or 3 days before the event, before NCM, I'm just you're just ready to be there. Yep. Right. And you're like tired of having to think about it, and you're ready to just do it. The mental discipline to find a way to productively distract yourself is really hard.
For sure. And like Ross Bentley's books and a lot of, I get his weekly email blast, like he focuses on the mental side of it more often than not. And like, that was one of those things too, is like, when you're having those type of thoughts, you got to kind of focus on, okay, yeah, that could happen, but here's how I'm going to do it correctly. Like, if I get put in that situation, here's how I'm going to handle it. Or like, if I instead of thinking about blowing that braking zone, think about getting it correctly and carrying the perfect amount of speed and finding at the limit and putting in that perfect lap time. So it's like being able to throw away that negative thought and turn it towards like, okay, here's where I'm actually going to take this, has been, well, like I've taken a lot of stuff away from his email blasts every week. And it's just funny, like constantly beating the back of my head. I was like, okay, positive thoughts. This is where I need to be.
Yeah. He covers particularly mental stuff a lot in his podcasts, like a ton.
He focuses on the
stuff.
I bet 80% of his stuff is psychology, like mental strength.
Yeah.
Anyways, I feel like I have derailed my entire podcast that was supposed to be dedicated to Andrew Rains. So I'm going to.
It's fun. I don't care.
All right, before we jump into that, as always, our topic and guests are sponsored by Petrobox, mypetrobox.com. If you want to get a monthly subscription box, use the code TTP15 for 15% off. Mine showed up the other day. I got a Mishimoto shirt. I got some shampoo, some tools, some stickers. One of those mitts that you for cleaning your car. So yeah, it's just fun to get different stuff every week or month. Week, I wish it was every week. It showed up every month.
John does not wish it was every week.
That would be so hard.
Oh, that would be the worst. I'd feel so bad for him at that point.
Once a month, you kind of forget about that. All of a sudden, it shows up on your door, like, oh, it's my monthly present, and it's great. And then if you want to just kind of pick and choose some of the stuff that they have available, you go to their store. Again, our code is good there as well for 15% off. You want like masks or shirts, car care products, all the stuff that comes in the box randomly. You can also, you have the ability to pick and choose what you want. That's mypetrobox.com. Follow on Instagram, Facebook, and yeah, hit us up if you want to get involved. Anyways,
sweet. I need to get on that.
Yeah, man. I was never into the subscription boxes until we kind of got hooked up with them, and then now it's like I kind of need it every month. Because I use the tools that come in it all the time. I use the picks that showed up this month. I use them today. There's a screwdriver that showed up. We talked about when it showed. This is the best ergonomic screwdriver I've ever had. I use it all the time. So
I've had that screwdriver for years. I love it.
Yeah, but as I said, it's obviously a sales pitch, but we truly do use the stuff that shows up in the box, and we really do enjoy this stuff. It's not just it's not just an ad. These are our friends, and we support them, and we really like what they're doing.
Yeah, it sounds super cool. I need to do it to counter my wife's monthly wine subscription.
I'm guessing this is cheaper.
Katie used to get this I don't even remember what it was called, but they would send you clothing and handbags and jewelry and all this crap. And dude, she didn't use 85% of that crap.
Oh, I bet.
At least. And I might even be being generous on the estimate. It probably was higher than that. And just comes and she never use it. And Petrobox stuff I actually used all the time.
Yep.
I don't know. I know John puts a ton of thought into every month.
Yeah, he really does. And he's not just throwing trinkets and gadgets and whatnot in there because that's what was available to him. He's going out and getting quality tools, quality products. It's nice stuff.
That's cool.
So what's new in the world of ApexPro?
Man, it's more like what isn't new, honestly. It's new.
Same old people, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's me and my business partners, and the same deal. And it's not public yet, but we have hired somebody else, and you guys probably know of or you'll be excited when you hear about who we're bringing on board. I'm super excited because I need more help on the sales and marketing and partnership side of things. But
is it Adam Jabay? Because he needs more to do.
Yeah, that guy's not busy at all.
It's Adam.
I've heard that he's looking for more to do.
I've heard that too. Yeah, that's what it is. We hired Adam.
It was a pity thing though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because you felt bad for him having so little to do. Exactly.
I knew he just needed more things in his day. He just wasn't busy enough.
Something that would make him feel more of a contributing member to society.
Yeah, that's right. I'm like, hey, Adam, I know you get a lot of Facebook messages, but you want to do ApexPro customer service and answer more Facebook messages?
He would love that.
It's so much fun. I know people are usually asking you registration questions or when the schedule is going to be out, but now you can ask people what version of iOS they're on and why their data won't share or whatever.
He would be so bad at that. It would be so funny. You should just let him take over for a day. You're going to spend a month putting out fires, but it would totally be worth it.
So we know the person you hired though?
You might know of them.
Okay.
May or may not. I don't actually know if either of you know this person or not. It's possible.
Okay.
We don't know anybody.
I know of a lot of people, though.
Schmoes.
Yeah. I don't actually meet them. I just stalk them on the internet. So I bet I follow them on the gram.
Probably so. It's probably somebody, you know, from the Facebook or the Instagram. But so that's all exciting. We just launched, or we haven't actually, as of today, publicly launched the next generation of the ApexPro hardware, Apex Gen 2, very cleverly named.
So we've kind of teased it.
It's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about it? Because so probably 3 or 4 episodes we've kind of teased that it's coming. But I didn't want to give away too much because you did send us a hit list of like upgrades and whatnot. I was like, well, I kind of want to tell everybody, but I can't really tell everybody. So we'll just kind of tease it.
We can talk about all of it now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's I'll start with just saying I'm super excited about it because since we launched the first one, our business has kind of grown outside of motorsports as well, where we've done a lot of contract work for other like Internet of Things type products. So connecting an app to hardware. So we probably designed 20 other products since we launched the first ApexPro device.
That's
so we
cool. I didn't realize
you
guys were doing stuff like that. That's super cool.
Yeah,
you guys have found a niche outside of motorsports.
Well, I also didn't realize how much coaching you were doing as well too.
Yeah, I do. Honestly, I've been turning down coaching work, which is cool, but like that just because I get a lot of requests for it, which is really flattering, and a lot of folks I really enjoy working with, and I'm fortunate I kind of get to pick the folks that I work with, and it's a really productive thing. But we started doing. I don't know when our first customer for like our outside kind of contract work came on, but it's all niches. Like think of like ApexPro, but in other random spaces that you would never think exist, like yacht IoT. So like I want to know my ballast level and my, is my yacht pitching, is a marina, filling it up with fuel. What's the fuel level? So imagine like an ApexPro app, but instead you log on and you see the name of your boat and you can view all the kind of vitals of your boat from a distance. We had a customer approach us with that problem. And so we've been solving that for a couple of years now, doing the R&D work. And then there's, we've instrumented a golf club with accelerometers to measure. It's actually really cool. It's measures like how far you move the club. And when you move it outside of a certain range, it beeps, and it's trying to dial you into like where a PGA golfer, how they putt, the range of motion that they use to putt. And it's wild. This guy came in the office with our sensors on his golf club and literally taught me how to putt, like to the point where I was perfect every time I hit the ball, just using this little, it was cool. So we've done that.
That's so cool.
That's awesome, man.
Done a bunch of other, it'd take a long time to go through everything that we've done, but basically we've built, circuit boards that we've designed for all of these projects. We've done production runs for all of them. We've strengthened all of our relationships with our manufacturers and stuff. So basically Apex Gen 2 is all new, and it's taking all that experience from all these other projects since we originally launched ApexPro and kind of, we have a battery monitor, voltage sensor that we like. We have all this experience with all these other sensors that we had no idea existed when we designed the first one. So we've kind of been able to piece together a much more mature product. I think that's just going to be better in every way. So it's a complete redesign. It's not really even like looking at the hardware. It's not even similar when you really get down to it. It operates similarly in the way that you'll use it on the track and for logging data, but everything's new and better, which is cool. So I'm fired up about that. And the app's all new too. It's all changing.
The app is all new. I haven't been literally just looking at it.
So I haven't been on it since you updated. My phone that I use is off the network, so I haven't updated it in probably way too long.
Oh yeah, you have to connect it to Wi-Fi and go be intentional about it and whatnot. Yeah, I get it. App updates are always it's a double-edged sword because people get used to using it the way it is, and then when you make a change, sometimes the change is a net positive, but it's frustrating to learn. So it was when I started like drawing out what I wanted the user interface to look like, there's a lot of opportunity for like low hanging fruit to simplify it, make it easier to use, be able to pack more features in with less sophistication. Like if you want it to be really simple and have a lot of functionality, but without you having to like, take a 2-week training seminar to learn how to use it. It's got to be intuitive. So I kind of had that goal from the mindset when I was drawing out the UI. So I think the new user interface in the app is like way easier to use. And then it leverages all the new power of the unit, the new Gen 2 unit. So now the actual ApexPro unit, you can display predictive timing on it, kind of like the iRacing relative bar on the LEDs, which is kind of cool.
Means nothing to me.
Yeah. If you do,
I was like, "Oh, that sounds awesome!" Like, yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Well, like, because I remember on your document, it said that it would be able to tell you like predictive on where you were at. But then today, this is the first time I've seen the pictures of the second gen. So I'm kind of like, well, how does it do that? But okay, but that makes a little more sense. But anyways, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. In iRacing, like if let's say your best lap is like a 150. If you're running a 150, then the bar doesn't move. But if you start trending towards a 149, you start seeing a green bar move to the right that says like you're going 0.3 faster, 0.4 faster, whatever.
Yep.
That's basically like the Apex lights. There'll be a red and a green in the middle. And if you're going faster than your best lap, your predicted lap is faster than your best, the bar moves green to the right.
Dude,
slower moves red to the left.
I love that. I really do. I think that's amazing. Because I love that on iRacing. I think that's awesome.
Oh, Robbie.
It's fun. I've been driving around on the road, like testing it, get stopped at a stoplight. I'm like, damn it, I'm losing time.
It's red.
Yeah. So that's cool because that's like qualifying mode. It's like it gives you a different emphasis, and you don't have to know the value of like, I don't know if I'm 1/10 slower or 3/10 slower or whatever. You just know that
you're improving. Whatever
I did in the last corner caused me to be slower.
Right.
Which is all the information you can really process anyway. And then there's a lot of other you honestly have to jump in the app and look to see all the other new things that are in there. But the other big ticket change is that you can now stream like speed and acceleration telemetry, like a telemetry data, like graph off of the unit in real time, which is really cool. So that's a big one that people have asked for a long time, particularly trackside coaching. And I've been using it with my coaching clients, and it's like being able to see into their mind. It's very cool. Like, where are you lifting? I can tell.
Jeez.
Yeah. So those are some of the big ones, but there's a lot of other stuff. The crew view, like social aspect is totally new. So you now create a user profile. You can create cars for your garage. And it prompts you to enter your tire information when you log a data session.
Oh, great.
So now
everybody knows I'm on RS3s.
Yeah, RS3s. Like,
well, you can lie about it, Robbie.
It's not even a tire anymore.
This dude's running RS2s. What the hell?
RS1s? They had an RS. What? It's like a 25-year-old tire.
I'm done with those tires. I'm done. I promise. That was...
Oh man! Something really cool is, and I didn't realize we were making this change until I was like out at the track in like February. Now it saves weather conditions with your data session.
Really?
So when you save data, it'll give you a session summary. Now it'll say your best lap, your theoretical lap, or your optimal lap, and then it'll save weather conditions. So it'll say the ambient temperature and the like cloud coverage level. Which is obviously kind of cool to be able to see like, oh, some guy, at Heartland Park set a track record, did a 145 or whatever. And is that, in the summer, like when it's super hot, or is that in like, late in the season in the fall when it's cool and it's track record conditions? That stuff matters. So lots of little changes like that, but telemetry is a big one. Predictive on the LEDs is a big one. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that the Gen 2 unit has so much more capability with all the new chips and processors and whatnot, that we'll be able to do a lot more of the kind of like cool things that we've been trying to do for a long time with this hardware. So it's exciting.
That's awesome.
Still want to see drift mode?
Oh yeah. We talked about that.
Drift mode would be sweet.
Yeah, where you're like, did you ever play Need for Speed Underground 2?
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like you get, like, oh, more angle, more points and stuff like that. Like, but I don't know if the Apex could it get an angle? Would you be able to?
Yeah, if you calibrate it, with no yaw, you can get it has a gyro in it, so you can get the yaw reading.
Right.
So yeah, we could do a drift mode, and have some party lights on it. So when you keep going, you get to a certain angle and the lights start to do some sort of weird pattern.
And then instead of having lap records, you have points accumulated.
I think that'd be really cool.
Just like Underground 2. I would love it. It would be hilarious.
I'm all about that. I actually got it changed so that when you get a best lap now on the Gen 2, so the lights flash when you cross start finish to show that it's logging data.
Yep.
But when you get your best lap, the lights do this little dance. They go, bounce across. You're like, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So lots of little stuff like that. Lots of little wish list items, and big stuff too. But yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm still nerding out over the whole iRacing plus minus on your best lap thing. That's perfect.
It's real simple, and it's nice for qualifying or in the racing condition. And then the Apex the traditional Apex coaching model actually got updated as well, so that now when you're going down the straightaway, you're no longer just going to see red lights immediately. It's actually going to be relative to how hard the vehicle can accelerate, not just the fact that you've accelerated harder at some point in a straight line. So now you'll see green lights all the way down the straightaway if you got a good exit. So now you'll also know, did I optimize my exit when I'm going down the straight?
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's going to change. So Apex score numbers will be higher, which means if you have a Gen 2, you're going to get higher up on the leaderboards for Apex score. So
theoretically, you could get 100%.
Yeah, theoretically. I haven't seen that. So at Barber, my previous best Apex score is an 82.
Yep.
And now it's an 88.
Nice. Yeah, I know.
So it's closer.
Yeah, I remember when you get in the 80s, you're doing something right on the Gen 1. I remember that.
Doing something right. Daytona, you can't get into the 80s, but most places you can. Yeah.
Yeah. So crew view, I have questions about it because I don't want to log into the app right now because it's kind of a deal. But do people use it a lot?
Yeah, actually,
I always forget every time I'm at an event. I always forget to log in and check and see how many people are on crew view. What kind of info does it give?
So for example, there were 6 different people that I saw. I looked at it 3 times today.
Oh, okay.
It was a Thursday. But on a weekend, there's 50 to 100 people that'll show up on crew view.
Cool.
So before this update, you would see the position of the car on the track and then its speed and then list of lap times that they've done so far. Now, if you have the in-app subscription, you can actually turn your phone to landscape and you'll see a chart that shows you their speed trace, coming off the car, how fast that car is going, at every point on the track. And then it overlays itself. So say you're live streaming a time attack session, you could actually see in real time, okay, the car's going through turn 3. Its minimum speed in turn 3 was 80 miles per hour, which was faster than the previous lap. Oh, that's cool. That's good to know. So
that would be handy.
I've talked to some people. There's another company that has some relationship there already, but we're working on it.
I see what you're doing there. Oh man.
It's pretty cool. So I went to Road Atlanta with a coaching client and it was his first time there. It's a big long back straightaway with a kind of sketchy, fast right-hand bend. And in a high-speed car, it's a little harrowing at first, but it's pretty easy, flat. It's not a big deal. But I could see on his speed trace, it'd be climbing 130 miles an hour, 140 miles an hour. And about the time he'd get to that bend in the straightaway, I'd see it flatten out and I'd see him lift off the throttle. Go. And so the next lap I was on the radio with him and I'd be like, hey, Mike, keep your foot in the throttle, stay on the floor. You got this. And I'd see the speed trace keep climbing. And every time he did it, I could be like, nice work. That was awesome. All right. And it's like, that's half the job as a coach, is just rewarding someone when they do it right, making sure they know they did it right.
So cool. You're going to do it in real time like that. That's so neat. Cause it's like not a thing for anybody else.
Yeah. Right now there's only, there are some more like DIY oriented products that are specifically for like endurance racing for streaming telemetry, but it's not a simple process. And this is like literally as easy as, hey, my buddy's on track with his ApexPro and I've got my phone with a cellular connection and I'm good to go.
Like from anywhere in the world, really. Like
in the world.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I could coach a guy remotely if I could communicate with him. I could coach a driver in California,
Get a phone call and a Bluetooth, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
All your fancy clients with their fancy cars and their Bluetooth systems, I'm sure.
That's right. I'm sure we could figure it out.
Yeah. How hard can it be?
Can't be too hard.
Nah, but that'd be fairly easy, I would think.
Yeah.
So what's the blue button on the Gen 2? Because the other
that's
the on-off button.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the power button.
Okay. I would say it's much smaller on the front now, whereas the other was on the side.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on the front, and it's got a USB-C charging cable now instead of a USB-B, which is a big deal for some people.
Okay.
Just because those are more common. Yep. And there's also a charging light. So you know how when you plug your Gen 1 in to power, you're like, is it charging? I don't know.
I just leave it plugged in overnight and hope that it charged. Yes.
Yeah, it usually does. The Gen 2 has a status light that's red when it's charging and green when it's fully charged.
That's perfect.
They plug it in till it turns green. So it's nice and easy. And it's got a new battery in the unit, as well as a different GPS chip and a different like program that works with the GPS chip. So the previous unit, the GPS obviously draws a lot of power because it's literally powering this little chip that's searching for satellites in the horizon to triangulate your position. So that obviously, like, that's the main thing that draws power in your phone is the GPS. And it only has like a little 1 hertz chip in it. So we reprogrammed how the GPS works when it's on standby. So when you're not logging data in the car, so that it sucks way less battery. So the battery life is like substantially better. So I'm very excited about that. Honestly, like if you forget to charge it and if it only has half charge on it, you might be able to do a whole weekend on it still.
Oh, nice. I guess I never really realized. Yeah, I never checked to see what I was at for battery. It was never an issue for me, but I also wasn't leaving it on all weekend either.
Yeah. That way it's just kind of like, I don't want to say dummy proof, but it's like if you forget to turn it off, now it's not as big of a deal or, whatever happens. Just trying to make it so that like more people have success with the product more regularly. There's in my mind, it's all about, with a technology product, it's all about simplifying something that's inherently very complex. There's nothing simple about 9-axis IMUs and 10 hertz GPS chips and all that. There's nothing easy about any of that. But if you can simplify it to where it just produces what you want to see in the app, that's good. So that's what we've been trying to do.
So is the Gen 2, so like you have the iRacing, I don't know what else you want to call it, for the better, worse on your lap. Do you still have the original modes to like the chasing the lights, all that stuff as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's got all the functionality your Gen 1 has. The Gen 2 will do essentially the exact same thing, just better.
Perfect.
The GPS line, like when you plot your position over the track, is more accurate now because it's got a better GPS. It's got a big GPS antenna in it now.
Huh.
It's a really serious piece of hardware. Really, it's a lot of these chips, particularly with the chip shortage. A lot of these chips are really expensive. They won't be, hopefully, long term as expensive as they are now, but they're very high quality, like Bosch, like brand name components that you would know. Which they were in the Gen 1 too. This was just 5 years ago, and the technology's come a long way.
Did the chip shortage really affect you guys, or?
Lead times have been affected. So like we can't, normally we have our sources for getting the exact quantities of components we want, and it's 4 weeks to 6 weeks to order stuff. Right now, a lot of people are quoting like 20 and 30 week lead times.
Jeez.
So that hurt us. So we've just had to like get creative with sourcing components. So literally like ApexPro customers that I know are in electronics, or they do something. I've been reaching out to people, and I have like 4 or 5 customers who are using their like trying to procure components through their large electronics business or whatever. So that's been pretty cool to see how like helpful the community's been, and we found some stuff that way. But we've been buying like chips off of people's shelf that they're not using to build stuff. It's pretty wild. So yeah, it has affected us. Unfortunately, prices have gone up. It's been hard to get anything to build any kind of electronic product. So if you're thinking about starting a company with that uses electronics right now, probably wait 6 months.
Could you like reuse some of the chipsets in the Gen 1s? Like if somebody had one that they planned on upgrading? Like a trade-in program that you could kind of get some parts out of it? Or is that not really a thing? Is it different? It's
most of the parts aren't compatible anymore because we're using a newer version of the same chip, or we're using a different version of something very similar. And also the solder joints on the circuit boards are pretty hard to precisely break it and then resolder.
That's fair.
So there's certain components, and it depends on without going like super inside baseball for, people that don't work in electronics manufacturing, but there's certain components, and the way that you have to solder them is pretty simple to remove. Like there might be 2 connections on a relatively large chip, but sometimes there's a chip that's 2 millimeters long, 3 millimeters long, and the same width, 2 by 2 millimeters, and it has 6 solder joints on it. So you can't really uninstall it.
Right.
So yeah, but we are doing a trade-in program for our Laptimer Plus annual subscribers. You can send your old unit in and get a credit on a new unit. So there's, if that's you can reach out to us and we can help you out there. It's particularly, but a lot of people are going to want to keep their Gen 1 as well. So it's just something you got to consider. But
are you going to sell the Gen 1 like side by side as like a more entry level one, or is it gone now?
We thought about it and dropping the price and making it an entry level product, but particularly with the chip shortage, it didn't make sense to retool and just end up buying new components but lose the margin to sell the same product. But what we'll probably do is all the returned units we'll keep on hand for a little while to administer like any warranties that any Gen 1 customer has. And then we'll probably sell a limited quantity of Gen 1s at a low price, just to try to help people that want to get into the ApexPro world, but may only have $300, buy one. But you'll probably see some on the open market as well, because, we can't offer you could probably sell yours for more if you have a Gen 1, probably sell it for more on the open market than we can offer you for the trade-in.
Right.
So that's a viable option. So hopefully that opportunity makes it so that more people can buy an ApexPro and kind of get into the data logging world with some good hardware for less money.
Yeah, I think that you'll see that people buy the Gen 1s used, that they'll end up transitioning towards the Gen 2 in the future from that, because I didn't really consider data at all until I got my Gen 1, and now I'm like way into it. And now like you're talking about the Gen 2, I'm like, okay, so how soon can I get one?
Yeah, data has that way of like, you don't realize how much you benefit from it or how much you use it until you go to a track event and you don't have it. And then you're like, oh yeah, let me just look at wait. That's kind of painful. Yep.
No, I was comparing my ApexPro data with the video that we were doing in the C8 at One Lab. And I was cutting seconds off. Like the autocross was the biggest one. Like I went and did what was it? Like a 55 and then a 50 and then a 49. So I could just, between sessions, I was able to quick review. That was one where I didn't use my ApexPro, but I just used the video. But like I was able to use data and see what I was doing and picking up on ways I could improve. And then at the tracks, I was able to compare video to data, and I was like, okay, here's what I could have done this. We only did one session at a time, so I actually couldn't go out and prove my theories. But like Bill and I would sit down and like whoever went first, we would compare video and watch and kind of talk through it, and then whoever drove the afternoon, which is usually Bill, we would take information from the first session. So it's like almost like getting cheat codes.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's kind of like the driving hack.
So here's the question I'm sure everyone's asking. All of this new technology, all of these upgrades, is it the same price, double the price, triple the price?
It is $1 million. No, I'm just kidding.
Worth it.
We'll sell one. Maybe it's very close to the same price. It's actually essentially we tried to keep the retail price the same, but we bought obviously a handful of brand new components and bigger, better, shinier things. So it went up by our cost essentially increased. So we increased it by our cost. So it's instead of $549, the new retail price is $589 for a Gen 2.
Okay, that's still like a hell of a value for what you're getting. It's
incremental. I think the price point's a good. It's in a good space because it's a little more serious than like your most entry level logger, but it's also still half the price of the kind of $1,000 price point, which is a totally different product space. So trying to stay in that $500, $600 space.
And it's almost like there's some podcast that's going to have a code that's going to help you get there.
That's right. It's almost like TenTenths Apex. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll as soon as, like we said, we're low on units. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I need a Gen 2, they might or might not be available. Check our website. But the TenTenths podcast code will be live and ready to go. That'll
be perfect. Yeah, and I'm like jonesing for like my first hit of one, man. I need it.
Need that hit.
Yeah, man.
And now Adam can be watching you while you're like he's commentating and be like, Robbie, all right, pick it up in turn 3.
I need to use CrewView more than I have. I always I've looked at it a handful of times. I probably haven't looked at it this year at all, but it was always just like a handful of people on it because you guys were a much newer product when I was regularly looking at it. And I always forget like, oh, my grid life, I should check it and see if there's anybody using it. And how many people are on there. And it's neat. It's definitely a unique feature that you guys provide that nobody else, to my knowledge, has anything like. So
yeah, it is. It's funny too. It's one of those features that like we never conceptualized the product to have it when we originally designed it, but then we got into it and we're like, oh, we can do this, and just it just kind of happened. But it's a lot more intentional now with the new app because now you can follow people a lot easier. There's a feed that kind of looks like Instagram now where you can post your best laps and you can go in and be like, see what lap times people ran and what track. And the leaderboard will now be separated by tire type. So you'll have street tires, like our compound tires and slicks. And there's different categories at each racetrack now.
Nice. I could have the fastest shitty tire.
Yeah.
I don't think they have 10-year-old tire as a category, Robbie.
just terrible. Just there's a bottom feeder, like worst tires. Oh, that's me. All right, perfect.
I'm winning. Yeah.
Robbie wants worst tires on a 350Z
records
category. He wants it very specific and boiled down so that he can be sure of holding that record.
Yeah, I get the record at Heartland Park for the 350Z with Federals and RS3s.
Mismatched 5-year-old tires.
The Federals weren't 5 years old.
Who do you compete against? Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the point. That's kind of what we're after here.
Yeah. I mean, a record's a record. It's fine.
That's all right. You could wear a medal like Adam has behind you.
Yeah, like Flatham has on his...
I don't even know what is that from.
That's I never rode on it. It's the it's the time trials from Topeka last year. I got first. It's a gold medal.
So is that a mid-div medal?
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's the time trial national tour plaque, which I still have mine here. I got second place in unlimited. What's up?
I got second place in production D and mid-div. But then I got this one. Rookie of the Year for GMVR SCCA. That's a big one. That one actually means something.
I have a what is it? E Street Prepared, F Street Prepared. I don't remember. I think it's E Street Prepared first place trophy.
Yes.
I've never once had a person in my class with me, but I got the first place in class. So
got the trophy.
Yeah, the trophy. No one needs to know how many people are in class.
Yeah,
it's up on my shelf. So
that's right. You don't tell anybody who else was there, but good to go.
Yep.
In all of the SCCA autocrosses I've ever done, I've never once had someone in the same class as me with my car. Which I don't know, like, you know, the SCs. I think a lot of people think that autocross solo stuff way too many classes.
Oh yeah.
But like, I don't know if that's my fault. Like maybe I picked the wrong car, or you know, I don't know. I never really cared either. I guess I was just there. A couple of people whose I had a target on their back, and that was like all I was concerned about, like whether they were in my class or not. As long as I'm faster than Robbie Veerhout, everything's good. So
what you're saying, it was never good.
I mean, I don't know that we've ever raced an actual. Oh no, we did do one or two in Sioux Falls years ago.
Sioux Falls and Marshalltown, which is like when we both were like super green.
Yeah, Marshalltown was not. I don't really count as autocross because it was like a go-kart track. So.
Well, speaking of trophies, something I've been thinking about is like at the end of the year, I want to do like a Crew View Awards kind of program where like if you're the winner, if you're the fastest lap holder on Crew View, you should get like a prize in the mail, like a trophy or something. So if you guys have any ideas for like maybe we do something with Petrol Box or something.
That'd be sweet.
I want this sweet Apex Pro shirt you're wearing.
This one?
Yeah, that one's new.
I haven't seen that, and it's awesome.
I might have another one. I had like Ravi Tomerlin with We Don't Lift. I don't know if you guys know him. He's out in Phoenix.
I actually do know that.
He designed this for us. He was like, hey, we did a sweet like rad Apex Pro design, and he just sent me one of these.
You should sell those because they're sweet.
Yeah, people will buy that for sure.
Cool. I might have to reach back out to him. I actually need to order some more of our other shirts, so I'll hit him up.
You should definitely sell that shirt. It's great.
Yeah, not everybody's like me that needs just a black T-shirt with a white logo. I think people would like the blue shirt.
Actually, when I bought my TenTenths podcast shirts for the live streaming stuff that I'm apparently getting roped into, I tried to make sure they weren't just black, white, or gray, except for this one because that's the only color it comes in.
Yeah,
that was pretty rad though.
Yes, it's like the 80s T-shirt. I don't remember what we call it.
I can't remember.
It's very like
dated, but like in a good way.
I think it was originally designed for me, and I never bought it. So, whoops.
It happens.
I bought the Golf one again too, so it's
nice.
fine. You go to Facebook, click on shop if you need to get to the store. Anybody haven't sold a T-shirt to somebody who isn't a podcast host in a while, so step up your game.
Yeah, we need to see more podcast shirts in the paddock.
Yeah, definitely. I think I need all the podcast shirts. I'm going to get a slip angle shirt and a 10/10ths shirt.
Oh, don't do that.
Don't get a 10/10 shirt.
Just don't put the sticker on your car. That's all that matters.
I don't know if you know this or not. So do you know 10/10ths, right? You know that, right? That sticker is cursed. JB will break your car. This has been a proven fact. 100% kill rating.
Really?
Yeah, so if someone offers you a 10/10ths sticker, don't put it on your car. Don't do it.
Put it on somebody else's car.
Yeah.
We're going to get a text from JB like, dude, come on.
What are you doing, man?
No, hey, it's not my fault, man. I'm just telling it as it is. 100% kill rate. It killed Dalton's car. It killed Ryan's car. It killed Dusty's car. It killed Tomo's car. What do you want from me?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sounds like pretty sure
all
thing.
in one weekend.
Man,
So
craziness.
So is the Gen 2 bigger, or I mean smaller than the Gen 1?
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit smaller.
Okay.
And it's curved as well. The profile is kind of tapered. So it kind of it fits on the dash a little nicer.
Okay.
And it actually has a new base plate design as well. So if you have an ApexPro, you will have to mount it with the base plate that it comes with. We tried to keep the design so that it could fit into the current mounting base, like the Gen 1 base. But with the new battery that we chose, it would have basically stabbed the battery to keep the base plate design.
Oh, yeah, it's not really worth it then.
Yeah, so that was just that. With everything else we wanted to do, it made the most sense to redesign it. But we offset the base plates so they're not like parallel on the mounting base, but it's a little more secure now, which is nice. And it's a little lower profile base plate as well, so it actually just takes up less dash space. So we were really cognizant of trying to make it take up as little space on the dash as possible, just to keep from distracting. To make sure you have optimal view out the windshield, because there's some other devices that are getting bigger and bigger and taking up more windshield space. So we're trying to kind of be the opposite of that to some extent.
Yeah. Then your LEDs are the same still.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's perfect.
Awesome. Can't wait to get you guys one. Hopefully I'll have some. I don't know if I can get you one by the Gingerman event, but I'll try to. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know you're selling these pretty well, and you're not exactly getting chips as much as you used to. So it's as soon as you can. I want it, but I'm not gonna hound you and say, "Hey, hurry up and get it," because I know you got a lot of work going on.
Yeah, it's it's part of I guess we're all dealing with fallout from COVID, and this is what we got to deal with. But shout out to all of our ApexPro customers who have been awesome and have been putting their money down on a product that we haven't shipped yet. So I really appreciate that, and you'll get it soon.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. And as soon as I get mine, you'll hear about it on the podcast endlessly, because I'm going to be nerding out over it, because the faster lap thing is that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to that.
You gotta set it like a start and stop line at your home and work, and then time yourself to and from work every day. I did that with Harry's lap timer when it first came out, and like it'll really ruin your trip to work every day, let me tell you.
Yeah. I actually did that for a long time, testing ApexPro stuff, and it was pretty bad, especially with like the ApexPro grip display, because I'd go onto an on-ramp and I was driving my 944 turbo, and I'd be like, I'm going to freaking use all the grip here.
I get all green lights on this one.
It's going to be all green. Yeah, there's a couple of pretty dangerous like exits and stuff that I had to take too, and I just, it's like I probably need to stop doing this.
That's awesome.
But at least I knew.
Yeah.
Now you can know that you're going to be late for work, because your time's getting worse, Robbie.
Oh no, shocked. Such a shame.
Robbie's very devoted to his job.
I actually am. I just doesn't mean I'm super excited about driving to work every morning.
Well, it could be more fun with ApexPro.
That is true.
That's true.
Look at how much better your day every day could be.
Yeah, if I woke up.
Yeah, you could look at your data, figure out how to optimize your run to and from work.
That sounds like something you would do.
I do take my transits very seriously.
Yeah. You're like, well, I braked harder on the morning commute, but on the afternoon commute, I was more committed on the throttle.
That's definitely true.
Practice your brake releases. Apparently, that's like the most important part about braking.
Yeah, everyone starts worrying about where they're starting, but they don't worry about where they're letting go or releasing.
That's the ticket. And the brake, you got to define it. Really easy to do, and with long G and the data, figure out where you're coming off the brake. I do it every time I drive a street car. My brake release is like weight of the big toe on the pedal, and then off. Like get that like delicacy, finesse.
That's what
you got to practice that stuff in real life, or you're never going to get it in the race car.
It's true.
Yeah,
that's where I practiced left foot braking, was in my automatic work truck.
Yep.
So, and now I do it without even thinking. When I get in an automatic vehicle, I left foot brake all the time, because I'm a nerd, apparently.
That happens, man. I see it all the time.
I'm the same way. I like trying to hold constant brake pressure with my right foot and then move my left foot over to the brake pedal without changing the brake pressure.
Okay.
And automatic.
See if you can not move.
Yeah. See if you can like brake at the same pedal input, but toggle between your 2 feet. And that way, if you're driving a manual transmission and for some reason there's like a long radius corner with a really long brake release, you can transition your left foot over to the brake and commit back to power sooner.
Ooh, look at you.
Yeah.
That's fancy. See, I was just trying to left foot brake for autocross purposes.
No, he's doing big brain stuff.
Big brain.
That's why he's the professional driver.
Exactly. And coach.
Yeah,
Just
try to think about these things.
Is there anything that we missed on the new Gen 2 or anything with ApexPro that you want to make sure that everyone needs to know about? I do want to ask you about like personal stuff, like your racing and stuff. So if you want to transition, I kind of want to go that direction. If you don't have anything else with ApexPro.
No, I think we covered most of it. It's it'll be live on our website on Tuesday, May 25th. Gen 2 information, so you can learn more about it there, and then download the ApexPro iOS app. It's all new, lots of new stuff. Register a new account, which will let you jump into crew view and give you a ton more capability and functionality there. That's going to make it super fun. The game level of like competing with your buddies and stuff on crew view has been ratcheted up to 11, so it'll be pretty cool.
Perfect.
I want to see this like live feed thing. I need to see this.
Just hop on crew view.
Like on any Saturday.
That's right.
I'll definitely be looking at it this weekend. Thing is, like, chances are I probably won't know anybody on that list.
Actually, you'd probably be shocked how many people you do know on it.
Yeah, you might not be wrong. Well, this weekend there'll be at Blackhawk Farms, actually, so I probably will know a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Track day picnic. So
you got to get on there and check it out. Yeah.
I will have to try it. I will probably forget.
Since I know it will be asked, you are still strictly on iOS for all the extra data?
Yeah. Right now we are. We're working with a company with one of these other projects that I mentioned earlier that is requiring an Android capable app as well. So we're actually actively in the market for a developer, ideally that knows Swift and can code in Android languages like C++ or other coding languages. But if you or your friends or know of anybody that wants to come program Android code, we might have a job opening. It's exclusively for ApexPro, but it will be for ApexPro in the future.
That'd be cool.
So yeah, that's kind of a sneak preview. That's not really something I've really talked about, but we've the barrier's just been too great on the Android side. We have too much momentum on the iOS side, so the only way to do it is to get a full-time or Android developer under our roof and make it happen. And that's the path we're trying to go down. So we'll see if we can get there.
Nice. Yeah, I'm not a coder, but it was my understanding that if you do iOS, it works on all the iOSs, whereas on Android, if you have to like make something special for each different type of Android. So it's like
that's true. The hardware is very different between different Android devices, whereas with Apple devices, it's very standardized. So you just like chase a lot. You're not chasing issues constantly. Whereas with Android, it's pretty much like, okay, the app's going to be crappy on 50% of the devices that it's on. And you just kind of commit to that. And then you focus on the hardware that you can control, like the different phones that you want to support.
Okay.
Especially with like sophisticated apps that have Bluetooth and GPS, satellite images and stuff like ours does.
That would make sense. Yeah. I mean, I'm not an Apple guy, but I completely understand the direction you guys went and why you went that way.
Yeah, it kind of worked out for it kind of worked out from like a ethos of the product and the Apple product being kind of a user-friendly focused route. And that's kind of our thing as well. But, we definitely we don't like not having an Android app. We're not like hardcore Apple people that just hate Androids. It's just really the way the way it fell. My business partner who's equitable in the company is a Apple developer.
Huh.
So that's really kind of the crux of it.
Okay. Well, cool. All right. So you did your first GLTC race. That was it NOLA first and then NCM, or was it NCM first?
Yeah, I did NOLA in November of 2020.
Okay. Had you been at NOLA before?
Nope. Never been to NOLA, which is kind of weird. I live about 6 hours from there. Never been, but it was fun.
So what'd you think of it?
I liked it actually more than I thought I would. It's particularly racing. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't like a super fun lapping track. There's no elevation. It's kind of boring. Once you got used to where the bumps were, I thought it was a pretty enjoyable track. But I guess you guys went there on one lap, didn't you?
Yep. Yeah, we went there for one lap. It's super bumpy, and even like they ground it down, and it's still super bumpy. It's just crazy how young that track is and how bumpy it is. But you build the track on the sand. It happens.
Yeah. Yeah. But I really was surprised how much I liked it, though.
Yeah, you get a good rhythm to it, and there's a lot of speed to be had. And I've only got 3 laps in real time. Everything else has been on the sim, but I enjoyed it on the sim. So when I got there, it was the things I remembered from Assetto Corsa translated pretty well. So I was able to get up to speed relatively quickly. Not to say that it was optimized, but it was. I knew where I was going, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. That fast section in the back was really fun in our car because it's really neutral and balanced and easy to drive at high speed. So I really could throw the car around there and could hang with almost pretty much anybody other than Coutil I was close with in that section of the track, which was cool. But he was on
nobody
rails
hangs with that car through S's.
Yep.
It's insane.
So light, so well driven. Yeah.
Well,
that's an impressive.
Watching that car at Kodo, I was like, what is he doing different? He's on a different level through those S's than anybody else.
He's still
crazy.
on throttle while everybody else is on brakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The car is it's super light. And I don't obviously know everything about it, but he obviously knows the platform really well. And he's just massaged it over time to take all of the strengths of that platform and just multiply them. It's like it does the transient, long radius transient stuff so well. At NOLA, that was really where, when we looked at the data between him and the other cars, because he was 2 seconds clear of the next car at NOLA. And the pretty much all of the gap was on that back section of the track, the high speed part of the track.
Huh.
His data and my data is not dissimilar in the slower corners. It's not close. He's still faster there everywhere, particularly because I was on a 100 tread wear tire. But yeah, that's a really impressive build and well driven.
That's a reoccurring theme with that group.
There's a lot of those.
So many of them. There's so many. A car is incredible and the driver is incredible. How can you expect to win? And that's the top 10.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, fighting for top 10. It was kind of frustrating going from knowing not many people showed up at NOLA because it was kind of last minute and nobody knew the track. And so we finished second overall on the weekend, and I got 2 podium finishes. And so that kind of set my expectations unrealistically for, knowing, I've never raced with these guys before. I don't know any of the tracks. My car is not anywhere near optimized for this. But the car works, so might as well show up and go. But NCM was a little more realistic, fighting for just inside the top 10 was where the car driver combo is, I think, with Grid Life at the moment.
Yeah, I remember you at NOLA. I was watching the live stream, and I was impressed at how up to speed you were for a car that wasn't prepped for for GLTC. It was just your WRL car that you brought out for GLTC, and I was impressed by how well you did on your first GLTC race.
Yeah, NOLA was really fun. Had a lot of fun racing with guys there. I don't know. The car just was better there. I was more confident there. I liked the tire that we were on a lot. I didn't have the same confidence in the car at NCM, and I wasn't slow once I got kind of the track figured out. But I just at NOLA, at the end of the weekend, I was like, well, left it all on the field, boys. I feel like that's everything. And I just didn't have that feeling leaving NCM. I was like, man. Some of that's the track.
Do you feel like you have that feeling more often than not at the end of a race weekend? where you're like, yep, that was, I mean, I did as good as I could possibly have done. There's really nothing I feel like I left out there. Is that a feeling you get more often than not?
Yes. In the past couple of years, yes. And I'll say that like not in like a cocky way necessarily,
Right.
but like I do a lot of endurance racing, and you really, usually when I get out of the car, I'm the quickest guy on my team. I took us from or wherever we started to the lead. And when I get out of the car, we're in the lead. And so usually when I get done at the end of the weekend, that's my reference. And I'm like, I did my job. I took the car to the front. Right. And so I feel good about it. But GLTC is a very different format. And there's a lot more extremely close competition. And there is, and like WRL is incredibly competitive right now as well, which is what the other stuff I've been racing in. So it's, you have a sense of accomplishment when you do well. But NCM was just one of those weekends where sometimes you're on, sometimes you're not. And I was a little off everywhere and just wasn't quite stringing everything together. It only happens a couple of times, maybe once a year where I come away from an event and I just am disappointed with the way that I drove. And that was one of them. And it's not usually I can find plenty of opportunity for improvement, even when I feel like I got everything out of the car or I did my best. Like there's still some element that you can improve. And I'm not saying like I got the car within, 99.9% of its life. Like I got absolutely everything out of the car. Like even when I come away from an event feeling like, I did everything I could, that's relative to me. You could put somebody else in the car, maybe that would go faster over one lap or even over the stint. But I came away from NCM going, I didn't meet my expectations for myself. And that it sucks, but it's necessary to learn.
Do you feel like you need to alter your expectations or are you still going to go into the next one kind of expecting to do as good as you had hoped before NCM?
I don't think my expectations really were to fight for the top 10 at NCM, which we did. Right. But I think it was more of like, first of all, I had Tom drive the car and he went a lot faster than I ever did in it. And that was...
I'm always soul crushing though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's a
freak.
Yeah. He's incredibly gifted and fast and he knows NCM super well, which like we talked about earlier at that track is a huge advantage in particular. Yeah. But I got closer and closer to his time and the data was looking more similar by the end of the weekend. But I just, I just wasn't quite there mentally with where I expected to be. So I probably should dial my expectations back a little bit with when everybody shows up, when Tombo's racing and Andy's racing and Swenson and Luke. And, there's a lot of really, really fast guys and my car's just out of the window and, I shouldn't expect to race with them, but I kind of do because I'm kind of that way. I'm a competitor. When I roll up in the paddock, I'm like, we're here to win. So in the back of my head, even though I know what's realistic, I want to win.
Of course.
Yeah, that's the mindset.
So
you're also driving Bill Griffin's car this year. Is that a more competitive GLTC car? I know it was originally a Spec E46 car.
It's probably about as competitive as my car is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got a lot better gear ratio in it than my car, a little less power. And if we get the aero package optimized on that car, I think on R7s, it'll be pretty competitive. I think because of the gearing, it should be a little more competitive than my E36. But the Spec E46 is a little out of the window, not necessarily on power to weight, but just on, if it's not a dedicated GLTC build, it's probably not going to be at the front of GLTC just because there's so many little things in the rules that you can take advantage of. Whereas if you're trying to compromise the car to run it in WRL or NASA or whatever, you're not going to be able to take advantage of all those things. But I would expect probably top 10 car. We'll see. Maybe more. I don't know.
You aim for first and then be happy with top 10.
That's right. Yeah. In my mind, anytime I show up at the track, it's to win. Honestly, like that's the only thing that I think about. If I'm going to a time attack event in Texas this weekend, go driving a Camaro, and I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, we're going to win. I don't even know what class we're in. I don't even know who we're racing against.
You're here to win. You play for
keeps.
keeps.
What Camaro you're driving?
Yeah, I don't even know. I know it has 500 horsepower and.
I think I know what Camaro you're driving.
Oh, really?
I think so. Maybe.
It's a guy named Matt McCarty's car.
Oh, no, it's not the one I thought about.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be fun.
Camaros are surprisingly capable in the right hands.
Yeah, they really are.
Is it a new one? Is it a newer one?
It's a 5th gen, so it's not the newest.
Gen. Okay.
It's the first generation of like the restyled,
the retro styled.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is still a good chassis. It's not as the 6th gens are really capable.
So good.
Good. Extremely capable. They're heavy in the sight lines are kind of poor in Camaros.
Yep.
But the chassis is.
You're being nice, kind of poor. You're being nice.
It's real bad. Bigger than a submarine.
It's no 80s greenhouse. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, they're probably pretty safe.
Laws I mean, you would hope, right? Like, because if they're not, then that was a real waste of time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So.
I've always had this conflict with newer cars. Like, is it really safer to make the visibility that poor? I don't know.
Yeah. I have a 2500 truck that I drive at work, 3/4 ton, 2020 Silverado, right? That I drive at work. And it's got these huge tow mirrors on it. And they're the biggest. Cars hide behind them all the time. And like, yeah, it's great that you guys put these giant mirrors on so I can see everything behind me. I can't, if I'm like at an intersection or pulling out of a driveway and onto the road, cars hide behind those mirrors all the time.
Oh, I bet.
I've almost pulled out in front of people so many times. It's like, Jesus Christ. The mirror is my biggest blind spot on that thing.
That's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, right? Exactly. So it's weird. The new cars are very strange. There's so many things about them. It's just like, I don't understand. Like, did we really make them better?
Definitely
debatable. Yeah. I think there's a reason like 80s, 90s, and early 2000s SUVs are like skyrocketing in value the past 6 months. And it's, one, it's like used car prices are just stupid, crazy high no matter what. But I think people are starting to realize like, Land Cruisers, like 90s Land Cruisers and 2000s era Land Cruisers and everything that's of that era that's an SUV is just like worth stupid money right now. But what do I know?
There's a shop here in the next town over from where I live that they're restoring like old Range Rovers. And I drove by their shop here like a month ago, and there was a 6-wheeled one out front.
Really?
And I know how Robbie feels about the 6-wheel G-Wagon.
I love it. I love everything about it.
We were on our way to go grocery shopping. I was like, I'm going to stop there on my way back, get some pictures of this thing. Fucking gone.
Dang it.
So that's what you get for not turning around and going back right away. So.
Oh man, I would have loved to see pictures of that.
It was the wildest thing. I don't know if it was 6-wheel drive, but it had 2 rear axles. So it was quite the deal. It's a whole thing. I don't know if I haven't figured out what the name of the company is to like look it up or anything like that, but
man,
yeah.
Range Rover.
There's a company right across the street that builds Scouts.
Yeah.
And like, so apparently that's what we're doing in Ames now is rebuild or is resto modding SUVs.
Yes. I think Scouts and like all the international stuff, because they all rust like crazy. And those have always been kind of hard to find in good shape.
Yep.
So they like
all too well.
Yeah.
My dad's a huge international fan. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're cool.
He's got an old pickup truck right now that we went to Chicago to pick up here a few months ago, and we thought it was like, oh, this looks pretty rust free, and turns out it wasn't. And he had to tear the whole thing apart and replace like a whole bunch of sheet metal inside of the dash, because every time it rained, it would just pour into the floor because it was all rusted out underneath the dash, and it was rusting out the floor because of it. So,
oh man,
yeah,
and they're still worth something despite all that too, which is crazy, but. Hey, it's cool.
They're so strange. So there's tons of little things that are just weird about them. So
I'm sure
you still have your
them.
disco?
Yeah, I actually have kind of a crazy disco story. I don't know how much you guys followed my like Instagram stories and stuff, but so I bought a green one. Did y'all see the green one that I posted pictures of?
Yeah,
yeah.
And so it had some like issues, but it was all just like the guy I bought it from had been working on it and had all thumbs. And so I got everything kind of fixed on it and drove it great for 6 months. But me being me, it was like, the rear frame's kind of rusty. It's going to need to be replaced in 10 years. And it kind of has this like disco ticking sound at idle when it gets hot, which is pretty typical. It's not oil pressure. I tested the oil pressure. It was fine. So I was like, of course it runs perfectly fine. So I decide, my dumbass, it's like, I'm going to get rid of it and I'm going to get a really good one because they're going up in values. Typically, like just like all the other stuff we're talking about, they're getting expensive. And they weren't like, they're hard to find good ones because the build quality is pretty average and people didn't take care of them, especially after warranties. And they need more maintenance than most cars. So like all that compounds, and they're hard to find in good shape. And they're British. So like, the ones on Monday were made better than the ones on Friday. Like obviously, somebody was on strike or something, So I decided to buy one I meet a guy online that I've known for 6 months or so that's been helping me with some of the projects I was doing online. Half the stuff I did it's like owning a race car. I didn't have to do it, but I got in there and I was like, I'm going to go fix everything because it'll be fun. And it was. It's the only car I know how to work on. Yeah, exactly. Build creep to the max. Like, go do everything. So I decided to buy one that's got a freshly rebuilt motor, completely rust-free frame, and all the goodies. Has had everything, every reliability concern that they have has been addressed with improved, with the aftermarket has solved a lot of those problems. So it's had all that stuff addressed. It's a ton of work. Headliner's been done. Sunroofs have been sealed so they don't leak. All the other stupid disco stuff that they do. And lo and behold, this one with a freshly built motor that's had the engine block pressure tested and everything starts to overheat on the way home. And I'm like, damn it, this is bad. Like, this is not good because like discos are known to overheat. That's their thing. They overheat and they actually, the manufacturing tolerances on some of them, again, seriously, like they would calibrate the engine cylinder boring machine, on one day of the week and they wouldn't on others. So some of the engine blocks are literally honed to where the cylinders are closer to like the water jackets than in other blocks.
Oh my God.
From the factory. So some of them have less cylinder wall thickness than others, right? So some of them are easier to overheat and then catastrophically crack the engine block because if they overheat badly enough, they'll crack the block. But it's an aluminum block with a steel cylinder liner. And the press fit on the cylinder liner's probably not as good as it should be anyway. So the liners will actually start to move in the cylinder is what they're known to do. So this one that I have overheats, I end up pulling the thermostat out and driving it the rest of the way home. No problems. Get it home, drive it for a couple of weeks, and it's pressurizing the coolant system. It's doing all this crazy shit that doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't seem like a head gasket because I'm thinking that it's got to be head gaskets, but it's a completely fresh build with somebody that knows what they're doing with a proven track record. This guy sold 20 discos that he's built engines for and sold, and I've like met people that he sold stuff to, talked to him. I've gotten to know him really well. Like I trust him really, so I ended up coming to find out that the engine block had cracked.
Oh, no.
Even though he had pressure tested it. So it was a junkyard block. So long story short, he paid for me to ship it back to him and he is building another engine that is being pressure tested. Has already been pressure tested, like coolant pressure tested.
Yeah.
And is now going back in the truck. But I don't really feel too bad about it because I've been watching Disco sell and bring a trailer for 30 grand in the condition that mine's in. And I paid 12 for it. So I'm like, I'm just going to get it, hold on to it, shut up. But yeah, that's what you get when you have a stupid car affliction that makes no sense.
Yeah, I feel that. But
like,
those are a special kind of crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. They're like I married a really sensible woman, you know.
I'll bet she hates it, doesn't she?
Yeah. Actually, she loves discos. I don't know what, like I said, she's extremely sensible. Like she anything that I love, she tends to love as well. But where I was going was like, she's very sensible. So I have to have something crazy in my life, you know, that's like a little unpredictable,
I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I don't know. Like, it's funny because as long as this is my third disco that I've owned, I've had one in college that I drove that was a 5-speed Discovery 1, like a 3-pedal manual transmission, which they're really hard to find. And now, of course, they're worth stupid money for what they are.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, and they are super cool. You know, they drive like a Defender with a fancy body on it. They're fun to drive, but they're I've never really I don't know the source of like why I like this car. Like my parents never had Land Rovers. I never had friends that had Land Rovers. Like I honestly have no idea why I like them. I think it's honestly just being a kid and being parked behind like a disco when they were brand new, you know, at a traffic light and seeing that cool spare tire cover that had like the safari scene on it. And I think as like a 5-year-old, I was like, not 5-year-old, it would have been like 10. I'd be like, I'm going to have that one day. Like, honestly, I think that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea why I like it.
So then you buy the spare tire cover and you hang it on your wall and you move on with life, man. You just like, then you go buy like a Bronco or something. I don't know.
Yeah. That's probably a good point. I probably could have.
But I mean, I suppose if you can make money on it, then
yeah. So you're gonna make money hand over fist. Just you get to enjoy it, and then turn around and be like, oh, now I doubled my investment.
Yeah, I've never made money on a car, so maybe don't listen to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I hadn't until I bought an F-250 about a year ago, 2 years ago, and I bought it for $10,750, and I sold it for $14,500 in a year.
Probably worth like 28 now.
Yeah, it was a 7.3 F-250, and then I started realizing like, oh yeah, if you pick them right, like you don't buy it because you're going to make money, but if you buy something at the right time, sometimes they can't appreciate. And I realized that just when I was looking back into discos as a daily, that they were starting to appreciate, which is what forced me into like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get into this world. So actually now I'm pretty. It's actually Abe from the Slip Angle show was down at Barber, and I took him for a ride in mine, and he got out of it. And he was like, I don't like get it, but like I kind of get it. It's like as a car person, they have all the quirkiness. Like it's probably the same reason your dad's into internationals.
Yeah,
they're totally odd. They're quirky. They're super interesting to drive. The ergonomics are weird. It's like an old Ferrari. The way the ergonomics are, it's honestly like when you drive it, you can't believe it was made in 2004 because it's like a weird combination of like half the stuff in it is like cutting edge and everything else is like would have been sold in the 60s, you know.
I'm sure if I drove one, I would fall head over heels in love and have to own one, because that sounds like all the reasons I would buy a car, which frankly are not good reasons to buy it.
I was going to say, don't do it.
Yeah, I feel like that's something I could absolutely get my head around. But
yeah, the history in the engine's cool because it was originally a GM designed engine. It was a Buick 215. And Rover licensed it. It's actually a crazy story. I started reading about it. Rover Car Company, like the British car manufacturer, was designing a turbine engine for widespread production.
That's like a thing that a lot of them tried to do, and nobody was successful with it.
Yeah, I've read the whole backstory on it, and they like got so far into production, they had already designed all their saloon cars, like all the sedans and sports cars, to fit the turbine engine. And then in like the 11th hour, they realized it wasn't going to work. And some dude from Rover Car Company was in like New York and saw this old V8, push rod engine block sitting on the ground at like a GM factory. They were there doing some deal with GM, and he asked him what it was, and they told him it was the motor that came out of the Buick something. I forget what models, and the Oldsmobile Jetfire maybe is what it was in. And so Rover ended up licensing that design, and they redesigned it to manufacture it differently. And then that V8 that's in the Disco, which is an 04, literally started being put in cars in 1967 in England. And the design's the same.
They still couldn't figure out how to make it. They've been making it for 40 years and they still make it wrong.
Yeah. The first 30 years they had if you go to England, I'm on like the Rover V8 Facebook pages, freaking hilarious. It's like the LS1 of motors over there. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's like this
absolutely.
Weird, you're like, what in the world? So I'm a sucker for that kind of like weird, backstory. So I'm like, Rover V8s are cool. It's basically a small block. It's a smaller small block Chevy, but design's very similar and everything.
Huh.
To me, a lot of the ownership experience of cars is the story behind them. Whether it's a story that was made by the manufacturer originally or a story that was created through prior owners or even yourself, like that's so much of it to me, and yeah, vehicles that have a bunch of weird quirks and strange stories and like, how did this ever happen? That's the stuff I fall in love with. So I'm going to stay away from those.
Yeah. I was going to say that's the kind that drain your wallet, but there's a special thing like when you have that kind of connection with the car, because it makes you happy. Like it brings you joy, and that is worth a lot of money, like to be able to have that experience. Like I literally, when I see another Disco, I get visibly like, my wife will be like, did you see a Disco? She'll like, no, I got perk up. I'm like, because they're so cool, and it like tickles that, like, I get excited about it. It's like, why does this happen? I don't understand it. It's so stupid. But they're I hesitate to use the word reliable, but it's very much like we were talking about with race cars. They're mostly a function, other than the cracked engine block thing, which is a thing.
Yeah. Well,
that's just, getting a shitty British situation, but they're pretty easy to maintain, and they're really straightforward. There's nothing on them that's complex. You can't really mess them up. So you just have to actually maintain them, which is why they have a bad reputation, in my opinion, is that people just neglected to do anything. And the original, like literally the original service, and this was what gives me very little faith in like modern cars too, is like Land Rover specified like 10,000 mile oil change intervals with the wrong viscosity oil, from the get-go. You're like, everything we know about this engine now and everything they knew about it prior says you should run, a thicker heavier weight viscosity conventional oil with, ZDDP additives, with all the like old school hot rod motor stuff. And of course they're like, 10W20 or whatever lightweight crap they're putting in it. Stupid. I could go on forever. You got to get me off this topic, otherwise we'll never stop talking.
Well, I think we've done a full show.
I was going to say, I think we probably should wrap it up.
Where are you going to be this year? Like, are you like? You'll be at a couple of Grid Lives that we'll be at. Anything else that that you'll be at, or places you want to?
ApexPro will be at SCCA Time Trial Nationals. I don't think I'll be there, but we'll have a representative there helping people with data at NCM in June.
I liked it when you guys did that when I was there, so I did appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love that event. A lot of good people there. A lot of fast drivers and good folks. And then I'll be at Alpine Horizon with Grid Life, and then Mid Ohio with Grid Life, and then I think Gingerman Midwest Festival with Grid Life, as well as a whole bunch of other events in between now and then, as well as a lot of private coaching gigs. So I'll be coaching drivers in WRL and some other stuff as well that I can't think of off the top of my head, but it'll be fun.
Awesome. Sounds like a busy summer, so that's good.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I'm having to put days on my calendar when I'm not going to go to the track intentionally so that I don't overcommit.
Well, even getting you on the show this week was kind of like, nah, it's not going to work. And then you're like, but we can make it work tonight. Great, we'll record tonight.
Yeah, we had something planned and then it fell through, and it's like, all right, jump at the opportunity. No, I'm bad. I'm a very social person, so I tend to be like, let's woo, COVID, get rid of it. Let's just go out and do stuff.
Probably gonna need more of that.
I need more of that?
We need.
Yeah.
Both of us.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't, but we do.
I'm not very social.
I don't want it, but we do need that.
I do like going to things, but like
Yeah.
the track, and that's about it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Adam saw my extrovert side come out at NCM.
I'm still like beyond shocked at your grasp of "We Didn't Start the Fire" lyrics.
Man, that wasn't my best either. Like I was running on 2 hours of sleep, and I'd probably have one beer, but I'd slept so little. I was like, woo.
So I was reading the lyrics to the song while it was playing at some point, and I was like, dude, I can't even keep up reading. It's a complicated song.
Yeah, I went to karaoke at the college bar in Auburn a lot to get that nailed down.
I would say. Very impressive.
Yeah, it was fun. That was a good time.
We'll have to do that again.
We got shut down.
Yeah, we'll do that again at Midwest Festival where you won't get shut down.
Yeah. Or at Alpine. I promise you they won't shut you down.
You won't get shut down at Alpine.
Cool. I'll bring some cough drops and maybe some like saline solution to like gargle my throat just to like do some vocal prep.
I'm excited to have you at a festival. They're a whole different experience.
It'll be a lot of fun, man.
I've never been to a racing event like a Grid Life Festival.
I can't wait.
So it's a trip for sure.
Yeah, let's go. If anyone's listening and you're there and you see me, come say hey and introduce yourself. I'm pumped.
You're gonna get a lot.
Yeah,
there's a decent amount of people that show up.
yeah,
I'll be hugged. It'll be fun.
Can bring Flatum.
Oh, we should.
No, because he'll get destroyed.
He'll disappear. Someone will take him.
Yeah, it'll end up on somebody's wall in their garage. So.
All right. Well, Andrew, I appreciate you coming on and taking a solid 2 hours of your time, which I know is not easy to do anymore with how busy you are.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad we made it work. I'll be following up with you guys soon with some more Gen 2 stuff, and we'll get TenTenths Apex code up and running for all the listeners if you need to buy your Apex accessories or Gen 2 device.
Which they do, obviously. All right.
Hey, that's what we're all about. Love it.
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch everybody else next week.